What's going on, everybody? It's Professor Zeus, and I'm back with another video. Yo, if this is your first time at the channel, just know I greatly appreciate you for stopping by. Go ahead and hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers, and we're taking the humble route. I just had a date night with my wife. We went to go see Sinners. Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan did a phenomenal job. That was an amazing movie. You know how you usually go to the movies, and sometimes you got to use the bathroom in between. I didn't stand up once during the movie, and I was just totally locked in. So I highly recommend everybody go see that movie. It was an amazing movie. It was an amazing experience. But as my wife and I were leaving on our way back to the house, she's on Facebook, and she's like, "Yo, babe, look at this crazy ass ad, right?" I'm driving, right, and she's like, "Yeah, look at this ad." I'm like, "What's the ad talking about?" She said, this crazy this this farm in Louisiana is trying to do something crazy, right? So I had the ad of the exact one she showed me, right? So a farm in Loranger, Louisiana is offering $11 an hour, 9 to 10 hour days, 7 days a week from May to July 2025. So no days off, crazy hours in the Louisiana heat. So as she's telling me this, I'm like, yeah, babe, send me that because I definitely have to talk about that on YouTube. But it really got me thinking, right? What does this say about the current labor market, our economy, and the whole ideology, of bringing back jobs to America, right? You guys have heard me constantly talk about that in my last few videos about what it really means and what it really looks like. And how does immigration fit into all of this? So I'm gonna try to break it down from all angles. So, just stick with me and we're gonna try to figure it out. But listen, this ad already is extremely crazy. $11 an hour. $11 an hour in 2025 from 9 to 10 hour days in the summer in Louisiana. That is literally unheard of. That's crazy. That's intense, right? If you're working 10-hour days, right, that's $110 daily. So that's 770-ish, before taxes. Now, if you look at that over 12 weeks, you're only seeing about $9,300, right? And that might sound like decent money, but that's 70 hours a week with no breaks, a crazy sort of condition. We're talking about Louisiana heat, guys. Humidity, extreme heat, bugs, swamp, all these different types of things. Physical labor, like picking fruit, is literally back breaking, literally. And $11 an hour is, above Louisiana's minimum wage. They still have it at 7.25, but it's still low, extremely low for this type of work. Now, if we look in comparison, right, the average hourly wage for agricultural or people who are like farmhand, like just anything dealing with agriculture in the U.S., the average wage is about $15 to $17, right? And that's often less demanding. Like, you have less demanding schedules, right? So you might be doing that like a legit 9 to 5, right? But this ad, it just my wife is she's talking to me about this, and I'm just like, wow, labor shortage, right? Farms are struggling currently to find workers, so they're casting a huge net. But who's going to sign up for this, right? And why is the wage so low for such intense work, right? And how does this affect us as the consumers? Cheap labor keeps food prices down, right? So farm if farms paid workers about $20 an hour with better conditions, then your blueberries, your strawberries, they might cost more at grocery stores, right? And the United States, it relies on low wage agricultural workers to keep our foods affordable, right? It's why we're able to buy, large quantities of, strawberries, blueberries for $3 instead of $10. But on the other side of this, these sort of conditions can lead to exploitation. Now, if workers are pushed to their limits, it can affect the quality of the crops or even lead to some violations in the labor or the work that they're putting into it, right? And also, if farms can't find enough workers to pay at $11 an hour, they might not even harvest everything that they can or should, which can mean less supply and higher prices anyway. Now, within agriculture, there has to be a delicate sort of balance, right? Cheap labor benefits consumers in the short term, like myself, yourself, who actually go out and have to buy these fruits. But then it becomes unsustainable conditions because it could hurt everyone in the long term, right? So what's the solution, right? We've seen the administration come up. They've said that, we're going to bring manufacturing back. We're going to have robots do X, Y, and Z, automation, higher wages, right? All of these things have trade offs. Machines can replace some labor, but they cost literally millions to implement. And small farms like this one that's showing the ad, they might not be able to afford that, right? So higher wages sounds good, but it could raise food prices. So you're obviously in an extremely tough spot, right? Now, let's talk about the thing that I've been talking about, bringing back jobs back to America, right? This administration and politicians at large love this talking point, but this ad for um picking for farm pickers shows that some looks this ad is basically what these jobs look like, what manufacturing coming back to America really looks like. When we talk about bringing jobs back, people think about factory work or tech or building an iPhone and stuff like that. Not 70-hour work weeks picking fruit for $11 an hour, right? But the reality is this: agriculture is a huge part of our economy. And the crazy part about it, it is not beautiful, it is not glamorous, it is not flashy. These jobs are extremely critical, but they're often filled by immigrant workers. That's just the truth, right? Not a lot of US citizens are not doing these jobs. You can debate this with anybody because they're not doing this because the pay and the conditions, they don't attract US citizens to do these jobs, right? Now studies show nearly half of US farm workers are immigrants, many undocumented. So is this what, bringing back jobs looks like? Filling low wage, high intensity jobs with vulnerable workers? And again, I've stated this before, 80% of people want to bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. But out of that 80%, 20% aren't even willing to leave their desk job to actually do the manufacturing job. And now we have a real deal we have a real deal idea of what it actually is going to look like, right? Now, if we want to be fair, these jobs are going to provide opportunities for some. Again, in one of my previous videos, right? I spoke about how Elon is caught up with the trade war and the tariffs and how, I'm joking, but how he probably incentivized a lot of these federal employees to get laid off so they can be the ones, mining the rare earth minerals so so they can help Tesla build batteries and different things like that. So now these same, federal employees, are they the ones who are going to be farm pickers now? Right? But for local workers, like US citizens or immigrants, right? $9,000 over a summer could be life-changing, right? Obviously, in this economy, who couldn't use $9,000 right now? But we have to ask, are these the kind of jobs that we're proud to bring back? Shouldn't we aim for better wages as well as better conditions? It's obviously worth thinking about, right? It's obviously worth thinking about. Again, it brings us back to this whole immigration issue. Farm jobs like this, they rely on immigrant labor, including undocumented workers. Why? Because many US citizens will not take these jobs, right? No US citizen is going to do this type of job efficiently for $11 an hour, 7 days a week, right? And that's just the reality of the labor market. Immigrant workers, right? Documented or not, fill the gap. There's so many, programs for, migrants, which lets farms, hire temporary workers, right? And this is one way this happens legally. But all these new regulations that's happening, it's making it tougher for farms to hire if they are violating these labor laws, right? Which is good for worker protection, but it shrinks the labor pool. And then on one hand, relying on immigrant labor keeps our food systems running, believe it or not. On the other, it raises questions about fairness. So, are we okay with a system where vulnerable workers take the toughest jobs for the lowest pay? And if we crack down on undocumented labor without fixing wages or conditions, who fills these roles? Right? It's a complex issue and there's no easy answer to go about it. But we have to be able to talk about it openly. So my takeaway, again, we were on our way home from movie night, and wifey was on Facebook, and she pulled this up. First, my first takeaway is we have to appreciate the workers who keep our food on the table, man. They deserve better. And us as consumers, we have to try to support these farms that prioritize fair wages as well as great conditions, even if it means paying a little bit more for produce, for fruits, all those good things, right? Look for look for labels and stuff like that that say fair trade, or try to start shopping more at, local farmers markets and different things like that, right? And again, we have to try to push for policies that balance workers' rights with economic realities. And that could look like better enforcement of labor laws, incentives for automation, or immigration reform that respects both workers and farmers. We all have a stake in this because we all got to eat, right? But let me know what you guys think, man. Would you take this job right now today? If you are not working currently and you saw this ad, would you take this job? Just ask yourself truthfully. And then ask yourself, how do we fix this type of system? Drop your thoughts in the comment. Let's try to keep this conversation going. Share this video with someone who might see some value in it. Hit that bell notification so you always get notified when I drop a new video. And subscribe. We're so close to 2,000 subscribers. Never forget, it's you and I verse. Information, application, execution. Until next time, peace.